Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since my last video and now I'm coming back with a Laravel Livewire series. I already recorded few videos, so you can expect videos every week about Livewire. We will learn how to use it, how to create forms, how to save data, how to validate data, and how to instantly validate data so you can give instant feedback for users. And if you're interested, please subscribe. And today we start to create a form, a contact form, and we will save it into the database. And in the next video, we will learn how to validate this form. Okay, so stay tuned and please subscribe. Okay, so first of all, for this tutorial, let's create a new Laravel project. We will use Jetstream during the installation. So open up a command line. And let's use the Laravel new command. Laravel new and your project name. In this case, it will be live test. And in order to use the Jetstream scaffolding, we need to use the --jet flag. Okay, we would like to use Livewire, so press 0 and enter again because we don't want to use themes in this project. Okay, while it's working, let's set up our database for this project. So open up our localhost phpMyAdmin for this. Hit new, name your database. In my case, I will name it same as my project name, so live test. Hit create, and our database is ready. Right, that's done. Now we need to use npm to install all our dependencies, but first of all, let's cd inside this newly created project folder. So cd live test, enter. We are inside this newly created project, and now we can use npm install. Right, that's done. Now we need to compile our CSS and JS files. In order to do that, we will use npm run watch. Okay, so I leave it like that. It will running in the background. So if we make any change in our CSS or JS file, it will automatically recompile it. So I just minify this. Okay, now I open up one more command line for doing the migration. So I'm inside this newly created project folder and I do php artisan migrate. Okay, as you can see, tables are created successfully. Let's just check it. Let's have a look. If I hit refresh, I see all the tables just created inside the live test database. Okay, so I leave it like that and I open up one more command line for running the server. I will use php artisan serve command for running a server. Right, the development server is on this address. You can open up it in your browser. Let's just do that. Here you go. We have a freshly installed Laravel 8 application with Jetstream, and we will learn how to create Livewire components in this tutorial. Right, first of all, quickly, let's create a new user. So if we go to the register, we can see the registration page. Okay, so hit register and we should be able to create this new user. And yeah, we are redirected to the dashboard, so the user has been created. And if we go to the profile page, we can see our profile informations, we can delete our account and stuff like that. We can update our password and name. And by default, the profile image upload is disabled, but by changing only one line in our code, we can enable the profile image upload. So let's just do that. But before we do this, let's open our project in VS Code. Okay, so let's enable the profile image upload. If you go to the config folder, you will find the jetstream.php. And if you scroll down, you will find this features array. And if you uncomment the very first one, this is the profile photos. And if you save this file, you should be able to see the profile upload section now in your profile page. Okay, so let's just upload one image for us. Okay, so I selected an image and let's just click on save and it should update automatically without any page reload. Okay, so as you can see, we get an error, and the error is because if we go back to VS Code and if we check .env file, as you can see, the app URL is this livetest.test, but in the browser we are using this address, so we need to change it in the environment file. Okay, and if we save it, now we should see our image, and the remove photo, and if we upload a new photo, should be working fine. Okay, so let's log out and let's build our very first Livewire component. It will be a contact form where the user can enter their name, email, and a message, and when they hit the send button, we will save their message and their details in our database, and if we log in inside the dashboard, we can read that message. But today we will create the form and the Livewire component. So let's just start with it. Let's create a Livewire component. And we will use PHP artisan make Livewire and the component name. In this case, I will name it contact form. Okay, if we hit enter, enter again. Let's go back to the VS Code. And if we check our app folder, HTTP, Livewire, we can see we created this contact form class. It's more similar to the controllers. At the moment, as you can see, it only returns a view. Which is a contact form inside the Livewire folder. So let's just see that. If we are going to the resources folder and views, we should see here the Livewire folder now, but for some reason it doesn't update it. So I need to close VS Code and reopen our project again in VS Code. And as you can see inside the views folder, now I can see the Livewire folder and we have the contact form. This is basically the view for our contact form. Okay, so in order to edit this page, this welcome page, we need to edit this welcome.blade.php. And from this page, I would like to keep the navigation bar because we need it on every page. So let's just find the navigation in this welcome.blade.php file, and it's here. Everything is inside this if statement. So all I need is to grab this one, copy. And because I don't want to type out the navbar on every single page, it's a good idea to create a layout for that. Laravel Jetstream coming with layouts out of the box. If you go to the layouts folder, app.blade.php, it's used by the backend. So when we logged in as a user or as an admin, it's using this app.blade.php as a layout. And for the guest users, we can use this guest.blade.php as a layout. So of course, we would like to see the navbar on every page. So let's create a nav tag for that as well. There you go. And I also don't want to make it fixed on the top. So let's delete these Tailwind CSS classes. And let's say I want to make it flex and justify the content to the end, and let's make it the background color, let's make it grayish color. Okay, everything is saved. And now let's go back to the welcome.blade.php and delete everything from here. Okay, so by default we can see this welcome.blade.php in our browser, but we can't see the navigation bar, and it's because we are not extended the guest layout. So in order to do that, we will use the blade component syntax. So if we want to extend the guest layout, we need to use X and the name of the layout, in this case guest. And in this case, it's because it's located in the layouts folder, we need to type in layout as well. And now if we type in something here, we should see this dummy text and the navigation bar on the top as well. Hit refresh, and yeah, we can see the navigation bar on the top, login and register, and we can see this text. So basically we are now extending this layout, and everything in the welcome.blade.php has been inserted to this section, to this slot section. Okay, so let's go back to the welcome.blade.php. Okay, so let's go back to the welcome page. And let's say this will be the contact form. Let's save it. Okay, so we have created a contact form Livewire component. Now we should somehow insert it inside the welcome page. So let's say we want this text. Let's go to the Livewire contact form and paste it here. Of course, if we're going back to the page, we can't see nothing because we are not including our Livewire component, Livewire view inside this welcome.blade.php. How to do that? We can use the @Livewire. And the Livewire component name, in this case, contact form. Okay, so what we have in this contact form, only this contact form text. Let's just see how it works. And as you can see, the same result, but now it's coming from the Livewire component. Okay, so let's create now the Livewire contact form. And of course, we are using Tailwind CSS. And if you want to speed up your development, I highly recommend a website which provides you pre-made components, pre-made Tailwind CSS components. So if you go to the Google blocks, the very first link, this GitHub link, ready to use Tailwind CSS blocks, click on it. And as you can see, you can find different pre-made elements for your website. It's free at the moment. I hope they keep it free for us because it's very good. For now, we need a contact form. So let's go to this contact form section and let's use this contact form. Even you can change the colors of the theme as well. Okay, so let's check the code and copy to the clipboard. And if you're going back to the VS Code, let's delete this dummy text and paste our form here. Let's refresh our page. And as you can see, we have a fairly nice contact form out of the box. Now let's make it a Livewire component. So basically we want to save the name, email, and the message. And if we hit this button, we would like to save it to the database. Okay, first of all, let's just rename this button. I want to rename it to save. If you ever used Vue.js, the following syntax should be familiar to you. So let's find the name input field, which is here, input. And let's make it a Livewire input basically. So let's say wire colon and model equals to name. And let's do this exactly the same with the email. Okay, and now we want to send these data to the backend. There is more way to achieve it. First, you could just easily listen on this button, and if you click on this button, we will be listening on this click, and we call a function at the backend which will save our data into the database. Or you can turn it into the regular form, for example. So just after this section, the very first div, let's make it a form. Okay, so we have a form tag now. And of course, this form now, if we click on the submit button, is listening and it submit the form, but at the moment it doesn't know where to submit or what to submit. So let's make it a Livewire form. So wire submit, because we will submit the form. But we want to prevent the form default form submission. So just similarly to Vue.js, we will use prevent. And now we can define the function we want to call at the backend. So we want to save it to the database. So let's call it save message. Now let's go back to the backend and make this save message function. But before we do that, let's go back to the backend. So it's app folder, HTTP Livevire Contact form, and we need to define these variables, name, email, and message, in order to Livewire be able to work with them. So let's say public and the name of the variable. The first is name, so public name, and by default it's equal to an empty string. Let's do this for the email and the message as well. Okay, now we are connected. We are wired our front end, our view, to the backend. So just to prove this, let's go back to the view. And now we are able to use this variable on the front end. For example, let's go just under to the submit buttons. Here's the save button, and just under that, let's create a div. And now we can write out in live the input fields value to the front end. So let's just use the message. So let's just use the message variable. So it will be very similar to Vue.js, the experience. So if I start to type in, and now if I type in something in the form, we should see down here, but we are not seeing it because we are not using the Livewire yet. We need to include it inside the template as well. So if you go to the layout, and if you check the app.play.php, which is used by default by the backend, by the navigation, by the dashboard, as you can see, we have Livewire styles and Livewire scripts at the end. So let's just copy them and paste it inside the guest layout. So inside the head goes the Livewire styles, and the scripts are going just before the ending body tag. Here you go. And now if we're going back to the website, hit refresh, and if I start typing, as you can see, it's lively updating our content down here. So this is where the Livewire shines. Now we need to create a model, so we will be able to save somewhere our data. So let's just do that. Let's go to the command line. And let's create a model and the migration as well for this message. So I will use PHP artisan make model and the flag M for this command, PHP. Okay, now we need to allow our application to populate these fields. So if you go to the app models and we have this message model now, we need to create a protected property called fillable, which will be an array. And we want to fill the name field, the email field, and the message field. Okay, and we also need to create the database and we also need to create this table in the database. So let's go to the database folder, migrations, and this newly created messages migration file, and let's create a table for the name, which will be a string. Okay, let's migrate this into the database. So PHP artisan migrate. Right, let's check it in the database. Live test. Okay, we have this message with name, email, and message. Great, so basically everything is set up. Now we need to save it somehow inside the database. So let's go to app http Livevire Contact form, and let's make the save message function. So let's create a public function, save message, save message. Okay, now we are able to create new entries into the database. So as we used in a controller before in Laravel, let's just import the message model. So use app models. I think it's models. Yeah, it's models, and the message. Okay, now we are able to create a new entry into the database. So message create, and it will accept an array. So first we want to save the name. So this is referring to the database. Inside the database we have a name field, so we want to populate that with this name. So this name, and next we want to populate the email field inside the database with this email, which is coming from the view. Okay, so email field in the database with this email, which is coming from the front end, from the view. And the same for the message. In the next video, we will create a validation and we will send a notification if everything was successful. But today we will just only save it in the database, and we are resetting the form because And now we are not resetting the form, so the user doesn't even know that the form has been submitted successfully. Just test it out now. Let's go back to the browser, hit refresh. Oh, MIL property not found. Okay, it threw us an error. Let's have a look. Email property not found. Let's go, and yeah, I have a typo here. So it should be email. No. So it should be email. Okay, let's have a look now. Add name to the fillable property to allow mass assignment. Okay, so I have a typo, I think, there as well. Fillable. Email and message. Okay, so everything should be fine now. Let's have a look. Okay, and let's send a message. This is the first message. Okay, let's hit save. And now it should populate our database. Yeah, we have the first message from a user saved in a database. This is the third message. The name, email, and the message has been saved as we expected. But as you can see, we still can see the messages even it's been submitted successfully. So let's just reset the form when everything is fine. In order to do that, let's go to the contact form class, and inside this save message function, we need to reset this email, this name, and this message. Okay, so this name equals to the empty string. Okay, now after saving the form inside the database, we should reset all the input fields, and the user will see empty fields here. So let's hit refresh. Okay, so I just filled the form out with CodeFisher 222 second message, hit save. The form has been resetted. And the second message has been saved in the database. Okay, so in the next video, we will create a form validation, because if I hit save again, it saves an empty message into the database, and we don't want that. So we will make them required. So we will create a validation, and it will be a real-time validation. So without any page reload, the error messages will be displayed for the user. And also, if we hit save and everything was fine, then we will show the user a successful notification as well. Okay, so we will create them in the next video. Please subscribe and stay tuned. Thanks, bye.